First, certainly justice was not served. The judge in this case did all that he could to act as though he was somehow a referee on the issue of race, when in truth, every matter that he laid before the court relating to race and the reaction of the community was wrong. Judge Perry brought out letters from the community who charged Johannes Messerly with murder and that he should be convicted. Judge Perry argued down those letters, declaring that they don't have their facts straight because this is a involuntary manslaughter case. Well, first, the public is not entitled to be in this courtroom. Even on today, the court decided that it would give most of its seats away to the press, and the family and the public were denied the right to hear and to see the egregious statements that the judge actually made. Here's a judge that acted as though the question of racism does not exist in America. Here's a judge that threw out in dialogue with the defense attorney whether or not Mr. Messerly himself is a racist. Here's a judge that knows that Messerly was not on trial for racism. Messerly was on trial for killing Oscar Grant. So for him to even take up that as a dialogue, we knew in that moment that the die had been set. When he told us, after giving his expose on the statements of people, that he would address the polarity that exists in races, well, that was not what we were in court for. This judge was seeking to make a referendum in which he did not want it to be stated that in his courtroom that he convicted a California peace officer for the killing of Oscar Grant and sentenced him to the time that he in fact deserved. I've never heard of a judge overruling his own jury instructions until now. He knew those instructions when he gave them. He made the decision to answer the jury's question. It was all in his hand, the ball was in his court, and he fumbled the ball of justice. So we're looking forward to the Department of Justice getting involved with this case right away. This judge agreed with every cop testimony. This judge stated that this occurred because Oscar Grant and his friends brought it on themselves. That's a travesty of justice. Whatever happened before Messerly arrived had nothing to do with him pulling out that gun and killing Oscar Grant. And for the judge to allege that somehow that some levels of resistance from Oscar, he even stated in his argument that Oscar resisted arrest and that's what produced Messerly's actions. That judge is a liar.
Minister Keith, he also talked about the young men, Greer and the young men. He said if the fight hadn't occurred, you know, it wouldn't have happened. But he kind of dismissed Peroni's actions. The other thing is,
he didn't even address Peroni's
exactly.
actions.
Did you get a sense that he was as well arguing with the defendant at one point when the the public viewing box kind of chuckled?
Yes,
throughout the courtroom when he joined in with Michael Raines.
It reminded me of words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in a message to the black man. In an article entitled Our Day is Near at Hand, he said that a white cop would shoot a black man and go to court. And when he gets there, he'll wink at the judge and say, yeah, I shot the N-word. And that the judge will wink back and declare, I wish it had been me that had shot that N-word. And I felt that as we were in the courtroom, watching Attorney Raines and Judge Perry go back and forth over the question of race and its impact on this case. We know the impact because we're the victims of racism. Now here, we point out what's been going on with our communities for hundreds of years, and it comes from a historical experience, and the whole contact that Oscar and his friends had with BART police was based on a racially profiled report in the first place. Law enforcement never saw a fight. So for them to respond by pursuing Oscar and Michael Greer onto the train, that pursuit was only because they got a call about a black man. So any old black man will do. And the way that they handled Michael Greer especially, and then Michael of course, Oscar of course, all of those things were remnants of racial profiling. The bitch ass nigga statement 30 seconds before Oscar was killed. All of this are racially charged matters. And for the judge to declare that Oscar was resisting arrest, how? By slamming his face into the concrete and breaking his cheekbones? Oscar did not resist arrest. Oscar was a victim of police wilding.
Brother Minister, as we leave, a message based on this ruling and anything else that you would like to add. Could you give a message to young black and brown men, and I would dare say women out there?
Well, we'll start with the top-ranking black official in the country, our president, whose administration has authority with the Department of Justice. And I hope that President Obama, that Eric Holder, Attorney General, see what's coming out of the press. It's interesting to me that there were no cameras in the courtroom, so they won't have the experience to see what we saw Judge Perry do on this morning. The Department of Justice has a responsibility to protect the civil rights of the citizens of America. Oscar Wright and his friends are those citizens that deserve the protection of the federal government. To every black man, woman, and child and other oppressed people, this is simply repetition of what we've always known to exist. And we pray God give us the strength to rise up and do something for ourselves, because if we continue to rely on this system to give us justice, then we'll be waiting for a very long time. We want justice, but ultimately the justice we want comes from God.
Thank you.